Once upon a time, high up in the misty mountains of Ethiopia, there was a small tribe of people whose lives revolved around their sheep. Their days were spent herding the woolly animals across the highlands, and their nights were filled with tending fires and telling stories. While everyone else was busy with their daily routines, he would sit quietly under a tree, lost in his thoughts. One day, while sipping on a strange berry juice, he felt a surge of energy unlike any he'd known before. Intrigued, he decided to share this strange new drink with the rest of the tribe. They gathered around him, curious about what he had discovered. And so, the legend goes, that's how the tribe first learned the art of coffee making. Little did they know that one of their greatest discoveries was lying right under their noses, or more accurately, growing on nearby bushes. Traders passing through the highlands heard tales of a magical bean that grew on bushes. Soon, every traveler, carrying precious cargo across the desert, had a sack of coffee beans tucked away, ensuring that the brew reached far and wide. Eventually, word of this special drink made its way to the ears of a powerful Egyptian sultan. Intrigued by the promise of a stimulating beverage, he sent his men to seize the coffee trade for himself. But the free-spirited traders refused to be confined by the sultan's decrees. They slipped through his fingers like grains of sand, scattering to all four winds. Some settled in Yemen, where they introduced the coffee plant to the Sufi, a mystical sect of Muslims who used it to stay awake for hours of prayer and reflection. Others traveled across the Red Sea to the bustling port of Mocha in Yemen, and from here, the beans made their way into the hands of European travelers. They brought it to the renowned House of Wisdom in Venice, where scholars gathered from across the world to discuss philosophy and science. Soon, the drink made its way into the elegant drawing rooms of European salons, where it became a favorite among intellectuals and artists. They were skeptical, thinking it was just another tall tale. That was until they saw it for themselves. These traders became the first to venture beyond the mountains in search of the coffee plant. They carefully plucked the beans from the branches and ground them into a powder. Then, using their knowledge of herbal teas, they mixed the grounds with hot water, creating a bitter, aromatic drink. It was a far cry from the rich, robust coffee of today, but it was strong enough to keep a weary traveler awake during long journeys through the desert. They had no idea that what they were sipping was a mystical elixir, a stimulant so potent it would one day shake the world. But that's a story for another time. In the heart of this tribe lived an old man. He was different from the others. Word of this strange new drink soon spread beyond the mountains. As the caravan routes grew busier, more and more people came to know and love the energizing drink. And thus, the journey of the coffee bean from a tribal secret to a beloved European custom was complete. But this is just the beginning of its story. Our story begins high in the forested mountains of what we today call Ethiopia, where the wild Arabica coffee plant first revealed its secrets. Legend speaks of a goat herder named Kaldi, who one day noticed his goats acting unusually lively after eating the berries from a particular tree. Intrigued, he shared these berries with monks, who soon discovered that they could stay awake for evening prayers, warding off sleep and the tempting embrace of the night. Thus began the association of coffee with alertness and spirituality, a bond that would echo through the ages. But this was just the beginning. Soon, other European travelers began to bring back coffee beans, not just for personal use, but for the burgeoning coffee houses springing up across the continent. By the late 17th century, London boasted over 300 coffee houses, each becoming a hub of intellectual discourse and social interaction. A favorite among the city's elite, these establishments became the backdrop of lively debates that shaped the course of history. Thinkers and revolutionaries like John Locke and the members of the Enlightenment circle found in coffee houses a stimulating environment that kept them energized for their intellectual pursuits. The very air was thick with the aroma of roasted beans and the murmur of revolutionary ideas. For centuries, coffee remained a local Ethiopian custom, known and loved by many, but unknown to the wider world. In the small town of San Sepolcro, a young artist named Piero della Francesca was captivated by the rich, dark roast that reminded him of the deep hues of the night sky, sprinkled with stars. They provided a space for people from all walks of life to come together, discuss ideas, and engage in the political and social issues of the day. Let us not forget the quiet journey that brought this beloved beverage to our cups. From the Ethiopian Highlands to the European Salons, the story of coffee is a gentle reminder of the unexpected turns that life can take, and the profound impact that a simple cup of coffee can have on our world. The clatter of cups and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee became the soundtrack and fragrance of the Enlightenment era, a testament to the enduring legacy of those smuggled beans carried in the shoes of two daring brothers. This artistic interpretation of coffee became a recurring theme in his paintings, showcasing the evolving cultural influence of the beverage. In 1511, a Yemeni cleric even tried to ban coffee, believing its stimulating effects were too close to the euphoria brought on by hash. 4. In the early 1600s, a Dutch ship docked at Mocha port in Yemen. On board were European merchants seeking exotic goods. Among them were two German coffee enthusiasts, brothers named Gabriel and Hont, endowed with an adventurous spirit and a keen eye for opportunity. They decided to smuggle coffee seeds out of the country, hiding them in the hollowed-out heels of their shoes. This audacious act marked the beginning of coffee's European adventure. But the ban was short-lived, and soon coffee was embraced as part of the local culture. The beverage made its way along trade routes, each stop adding a new layer to its story, its popularity growing steadily. That is, until the mysterious traveler Ibn Battuta, passing through Ethiopia in the 14th century, stumbled upon the energizing drink that was quietly transforming lives. He described it in his travelogue, sparking the curiosity of the wider Islamic world. Soon, coffee houses started to appear in Yemen and Mecca, offering weary travelers a moment's respite and a chance to connect with fellow one. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Yet, despite its increasing fame, the pivotal moment when coffee truly burst onto the world stage came with a twist of fate and a dash of daring. Upon reaching Germany, they set up the continent's first coffee house in Hamburg, marking a significant milestone in the beans journey. Meanwhile, Italy's contribution to the coffee story was equally significant. As the 18th century progressed, coffee houses continued to flourish, playing a crucial role in shaping the cultural and intellectual landscape of Europe. So, as we savor the taste of coffee today, whether in the quiet solitude of our homes or in the lively buzz of a Parisian cafe, the year is 1475. Christopher Columbus is preparing for his groundbreaking voyage across the Atlantic, unaware that a different kind of journey is underway, one that will forever alter the course of human history. Halfway across the world, nestled in the heart of Arabia, the coffee plant is undergoing a transformation. It's not just a local curiosity anymore, it's becoming a cultural phenomenon. But how did this humble bean make its way from the Ethiopian Highlands to the bustling markets of Arabia? They noted its ability to alleviate fatigue and sharpen the mind, leading to its use in academic and intellectual pursuits. Soon, coffee houses began to dot the landscape, each one a hub of activity. How did it conquer the Ottoman Empire? What role did it play in the European Enlightenment? And how did it eventually become the lifeblood of modern society? Stay tuned and get ready to embark on a journey that will take you from the bustling bazaars of Istanbul to the elegant salons of Paris. The story of coffee is far from over, and there's much more to come. Men of letters, scientists, and philosophers found in coffee the perfect elixir to keep their minds sharp during their scholarly pursuits. The quiet rustle of pages echoed in these establishments as coffee fueled the pursuit of knowledge. Coffee houses became the backdrop for the exchange of ideas, fostering an environment where critical thinking and intellectual discourse flourished. And what was it about this strange new drink that captivated the Arab world? Some segments of society viewed it with suspicion, associating its stimulating effects with heresy and religious fervor. This tension between tradition and change, between the old and the new, played out against the backdrop of the rapidly evolving Islamic world. Despite these challenges, coffee's momentum was unstoppable. Its unique flavor, its energizing properties, and the sense of community it fostered proved irresistible. People from all walks of life continued to embrace this exotic brew, each adding their own traditions and customs to its consumption. The quiet revolution sparked by the coffee bean was transforming the social, intellectual, and religious landscape of Arabia, and as its popularity surged, it set the stage for its eventual conquest of the rest of the world. This was not a swift, commercial venture at first, but rather a gradual diffusion, carried by traders, pilgrims, and, most significantly, by Sufi mystics. It was in the quiet, contemplative world of Sufism that coffee found its first widespread adoption as a brewed beverage. Sufi practitioners were known for their rigorous spiritual practices, which often included long hours of prayer, meditation, and night vigils. They sought a means to remain awake and alert during these extended periods of devotion. It is believed that a Yemeni Sufi mystic, perhaps named Sheikh Omar or Ali ibn, encountered coffee during his travels in Ethiopia or through trade routes. He observed its stimulating effects and introduced it to his fellow mystics as an aid to their spiritual exercises. The quiet sips of the dark, invigorating brew allowed them to maintain their focus, deepening their connection to the divine. Join us as we take a sip from the well of history and uncover the secrets of how coffee became an Arabian delight. The tranquility of the desert nights was no longer silent. The soft murmur of voices accompanied by the gentle clinking of cups replaced the stillness. Around these gatherings, stories were shared, poems were and philosophical discussions unfolded under the star-studded sky. The aroma of brewing coffee mingled with the scent of incense, creating an unforgettable ambience. In these moments of quiet communion, coffee became more than a beverage. It was a companion, a catalyst for introspection, and a symbol of the mystical essence that pervaded the Arabian world. From the highlands of Ethiopia, the coffee bean began its slow, deliberate journey across the Red Sea to the Arabian Peninsula, particularly to Yemen. As the Sufi mystics embraced coffee, it gradually permeated into broader society. However, coffee's journey in Arabia wasn't confined to the realm of spirituality alone. Physicians and scholars also recognized its potential. Yet amidst this growing popularity, coffee's journey was not without its challenges. The Ottoman Empire, coffee's gateway to the West. From the Arabian Peninsula, coffee's journey continued northward, finding a new and enthusiastic home in the vast Ottoman Empire. By the 16th century, Constantinople, the magnificent capital of the Ottomans, had become a thriving hub of coffee culture. The city's bustling markets and vibrant social scene provided fertile ground for the establishment of numerous coffee houses, which quickly became an indispensable part of urban life. The Ottoman Turks embraced coffee with a passion, developing elaborate rituals around its preparation and consumption. Turkish coffee, characterized by its fine grind and unfiltered preparation, became a symbol of hospitality and social refinement. Some religious leaders viewed its stimulating effects with suspicion, likening it to alcohol, which was forbidden by Islamic law. At various times, authorities, concerned about the coffee houses becoming centers of political dissent or idleness, attempted to close them down. Venetian merchants, with their extensive trade networks throughout the Levant, were among the first to bring coffee beans back to Italy in the early 17th century. Travelers, diplomats, and scholars returning from the East brought back tales of this exotic, invigorating black beverage and the vibrant coffeehouse culture surrounding it. The quiet whispers of these travelers, the subtle hints of a new world of taste and experience, began to pique European curiosity. Soon, small quantities of coffee beans began to trickle into European port cities. Initially as a curiosity, a medicinal tonic, or an exotic luxury for the wealthy elite, the stage was set for coffee's grand entrance onto the European scene, a journey that would transform it from an Eastern secret into a global staple, subtly reshaping the social landscape of an entire continent. The gentle, aromatic promise of this new beverage began to spread, carried on the winds of trade and curiosity, signaling a quiet revolution in European social habits. However, these prohibitions were largely unsuccessful. The public's love for coffee and the deep-seated social role of the coffee house proved too strong to suppress. Coffee's resilience in the face of opposition demonstrated its growing importance in daily life. It had become too deeply ingrained in the social fabric to be easily removed. The quiet defiance of those who continued to enjoy their kawa in secret, or who found ways to circumvent the bans, speaks to the profound hold that this humble bean had begun to exert on human culture. This quiet struggle, and coffee's eventual triumph, paved the way for its inevitable journey westward. The process of brewing, often performed in a small copper pot called a sez, was a slow, deliberate art, producing a rich, strong brew with a distinctive layer of foam. The quiet bubbling of the coffee, the rising steam, and the anticipation of the first sip were all part of the experience. A gentle moment of sensory pleasure. Coffee houses, more than just a drink. In Constantinople, as in the Arabian cities, coffee houses were far more than mere establishments for drinking. They were vital social institutions, serving as meeting places for merchants, scholars, artists, and politicians. Here news was exchanged, business deals were struck, and intellectual debates flourished. They were places of quiet contemplation for some, and lively discussion for others, fostering a unique blend of camaraderie and intellectual stimulation. These coffee houses often featured storytellers, musicians, and poets, adding to their allure and making them popular destinations for both locals and travelers. The gentle murmur of conversation, the rhythmic clinking of tiny cups, and the pervasive aroma of freshly brewed coffee created an atmosphere of relaxed engagement, a sanctuary from the clamor of the city streets. The Ottoman coffee house became a model that would later be emulated across Europe, demonstrating coffee's power to foster community and intellectual exchange. Attempts at prohibition and Kaffa's resilient. Despite its widespread popularity, coffee faced occasional opposition, and even attempts at prohibition within the Ottoman Empire. The seeds of European discovery. It was through the Ottoman Empire that Europe first truly encountered coffee. The year is 1645. You are in Venice, Italy, and you have just arrived from a long sea voyage. As a seasoned merchant, your ship has traversed the sun-drenched waters of the Mediterranean, carrying precious cargo from the farthest reaches of the Ottoman Empire. But, believe it or not, this humble bean had a long and winding journey before it reached your cup. Our story begins thousands of miles away in Ethiopia, where legend has it that a goat herder named Kaldi first discovered the energizing properties of coffee. From there, it spread to Yemen, where Sufi monks used it to stay awake for evening prayers. Conservative voices within the church viewed it suspiciously. To them, coffee was the bitter invention of Satan. They believed it was too bitter to be a good drink and that its stimulating effect was unnatural. There are stories that preachers even tried to ban its use. But coffee had a trick up its sleeve. Legend has it that Pope Clement VIII was offered a cup of coffee. After tasting it, he enjoyed it so much that he baptized it, declaring it a Christian drink. Whether this story is true or not, it certainly makes for a compelling tale, and this legendary baptism helped to quell religious opposition and pave the way for coffee's wider acceptance. Then came the Ottoman Empire, who embraced coffee wholeheartedly, creating a rich culture around it. London, Paris, Amsterdam, they all fell under the spell of this exotic drink. They replaced the traditional tavern as the place to socialize and conduct business. For the price of a cup of coffee, one could engage in lively discussions about politics, philosophy, and trade. Merchants came to discuss business deals. Scholars debated the latest ideas, and politicians plotted and gossiped. Coffee houses became known as penny universities because they provided a space for learning and discourse. By the end of the century, coffee houses had sprung up in major cities, becoming hubs of social and intellectual life. It was a symbol of sophistication, a taste of the exotic, and a way of life. They developed a taste for its rich, dark flavor and its ability to stimulate the mind and body. And with that, coffee had secured its place in European culture. Before we begin, please remember to subscribe. Your support means everything to us. In the early 17th century, Venice, the Queen of the Seas, was not just a hub for trade, but also a melting pot of cultures. Like many new foods and remedies, it was tested for its medicinal qualities. And what a curious concoction it was. Some found that it could help digestion, while others noted its ability to ward off fatigue. Doctors began prescribing it for various ailments, from lethargy to loss of appetite. And as people experienced the stimulating effects of coffee, word of its energizing properties spread. Soon it was being consumed not just for health, but for the simple pleasure of a good cup. Venetian merchants, always on the lookout for exotic goods, brought back coffee beans from their travels. At first, it was merely a curiosity, something to be marveled at. These dried beans, when ground and boiled, yielded a bitter, murky liquid, unlike any drink known in Europe. But soon, the novelty wore off, and merchants sought to understand this strange brew. Among your wares are bags filled not with gold or silk, but with something far more peculiar. Roasted beans from a shrub called coffee. Now, why did you bring back these strange beans? And how will they change Europe forever? Your introduction to coffee may have been through an aromatic latte art, cappuccino, or even a simple American coffee. But now it's time to set sail across the Mediterranean to Italy. Enter the physicians and apothecaries, the healers of the day. They saw potential in coffee. Despite this growing popularity, coffee was not without its critics. As the 17th century progressed, coffee made its way from Venice to other parts of Europe. In fact, the first European coffee house is said to have opened in Venice in 1647. These establishments were like no other. To many Europeans, coffee was more than just a drink. Coffee, the beverage that not only kickstarts our mornings, but has also sparked some of the greatest ideas in human history. Did you know that this aromatic elixir played a pivotal role in fueling one of the most transformative periods in Western thought? The Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason and individual liberty, found its perfect complement in the coffeehouse culture. But soon these casual gatherings turned into something more, a community of scholars, a congregation of creatives, a parliament of thinkers. Hailing from Ethiopia, this magical bean had journeyed across continents, carrying with it tales of ancient wisdom and stimulating secrets. European intellectuals were intrigued, and the curious concoction became the drink of choice for those who valued both taste and thought. Well, for starters, coffee was a departure from the alcoholic beverages that dominated social gatherings, and the desire to keep up with the stimulating discourse. It was as if the coffee beans themselves were infused with the spirit of the Enlightenment, each cup serving as a reminder to think boldly, question everything, and embrace the power of knowledge. It allowed for more genteel and rational discourse, making it easier for people to engage in thoughtful discussions without the inhibitions often associated with alcohol. From the bustling coffee houses of 18th century Europe to the cozy cafes of today, coffee has continued to be a beverage of choice for those who value intellectual pursuits. It's a drink that has helped shape history, sparked revolutions, and inspired countless works of art and literature. And while we may never know exactly how much coffee fueled the flames of the Enlightenment, we can certainly appreciate the role it played in helping some of the greatest minds of all time get their daily jolt of inspiration. Moreover, coffee was seen as a healthy alternative, aligning well with the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason and self-improvement. By choosing coffee over alcohol, intellectuals were not only signaling their commitment to clear thinking, but also positioning themselves at the forefront of a new social order. As the aroma of roasted beans filled the air, it created a sense of mystery and allure, inviting patrons to step inside and discover the stimulating experience that awaited them. And once they did, well, there was no turning back. Some historians even argue that the very concept of the Enlightenment might have been a bit of a stretch without the coffee house. So what was it about these coffee houses that made them such a hotbed of Enlightenment thinking? Well, let's get brewing. And it wasn't just about the caffeine, although that did help keep those lively discussions going. It was also about the social setting. The coffee house provided an environment that was conducive to intellectual exchange. Today we rebrewing up a special episode as we explore how coffee and the Enlightenment were like two peas in a pod, a match made in intellectual heaven. The 17th century saw coffee houses mushroom across Europe, each one becoming a cauldron of ideas and a crucible for some of the brightest minds of the age. It all started, innocently enough. People went to coffee houses to enjoy a new trendy drink. Philosophers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau found inspiration in the lively atmosphere, while scientists like Isaac Newton and Alexander Pope pondered the mysteries of the universe over a cup of joe. Even artists and writers like William Hogarth and Henry Fielding were drawn to the coffeehouse culture, finding it a rich source of observation and inspiration for their work. First off, let's talk about the coffee itself. Coffee houses became the stomping grounds for the intellectual elite. People from all walks of life came to discuss, debate, and dissect the ideas that were shaping the world. But what was it about this particular beverage that had such a potent effect on the course of history? And then there's the caffeine factor. Coffee's stimulating properties helped keep those conversations going late into the night, fueled by the invigorating effects of the drug. So, as you sip your coffee and ponder the complexities of the world around you, remember that you're part of a long tradition of thinkers and innovators who found inspiration in this humble bean. As we've seen, coffee started in Ethiopia, but it really took off when it got to Yemen. So it was quite a surprise when I found out that neither country produces much coffee today. And even more surprising that Brazil does. How did that happen? As coffee's popularity soared in Europe, the demand for the stimulating bean grew exponentially. The supply from Yemen, which had carefully guarded its coffee trees, could no longer meet the burgeoning European appetite. This region, often referred to as the Coffee Belt, stretches from the tropical and subtropical regions of the Americas to Southeast Asia and parts of Africa. And remember the stories of the people, places, and empires that shaped this beloved beverage along the way. Within this belt lies a rich tapestry of coffee-growing nations, each contributing its unique blend to the global market. Your support really helps us keep bringing these videos to life. Brazil, the world's largest producer, dominates the landscape with its vast plantations and diverse range of coffee types. Colombia, with its high-quality Arabica beans, has carved a niche for itself as a premium coffee source. Vietnam, the second largest producer, adds its robust Robusta beans to the mix. While Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee, continues to be an important player on the world stage. Other notable producers like Indonesia, India, and Kenya contribute their distinctive flavors, creating a rich mosaic of coffee-growing nations. This global distribution of coffee cultivation reflects the adaptability of the coffea plant and the resourcefulness of farmers around the world. It also underscores the profound impact that coffee has had on global trade and economies. shaping not only the way we start our mornings, but also the landscapes and livelihoods of millions. The Dutch, with their vast maritime trading network and their insatiable appetite for new commodities, were among the first to successfully break the Arabian monopoly on coffee cultivation. In the late 17th century, they managed to smuggle coffee seedlings out of Yemen. These precious plants were first cultivated in the botanical gardens of Amsterdam, where they were carefully nurtured and studied. From there, the Dutch transported coffee plants to their colonies, most notably to Java, in present-day Indonesia, which would soon become a major global coffee producer. The establishment of coffee plantations in Java marked a significant turning point. It transformed coffee from a rare, exotic commodity into a mass-produced crop. This burgeoning demand, coupled with colonial ambitions, spurred a new chapter in coffee's journey. Its global cultivation, the humble coffee bean, once a local secret, became a commodity of immense economic and political significance. Its journey intertwined with the expansion of European empires, the Dutch and the theft of the bean, French and British expansion. The Caribbean and beyond, other European powers quickly followed suit. The French, through a daring act of smuggling by Gabriel de Cleo in the early 18th century, introduced coffee to their Caribbean colonies, particularly Martinique. From these initial plants, coffee spread throughout the Caribbean and Central and South America, laying the foundation for what would become some of the world's largest coffee-producing regions, including Brazil. The British, too, established coffee plantations in their colonies, though they would later shift their focus to tea. The expansion of coffee cultivation was often driven by forced labor, with enslaved people enduring brutal conditions to cultivate and harvest the beans that fueled European intellectual life and social gatherings. The quiet, often unseen, suffering on these distant plantations stands in stark contrast to the lively, refined atmosphere of the European coffee houses, a somber reminder of the human cost of global commerce. Now, if you look at a map of where coffee is grown today, you'll notice a distinct belt around the world where coffee is predominantly cultivated. So the next time you brew a cup of coffee, take a moment to appreciate the journey of the bean from its humble beginnings in Ethiopia to its global domination. By the 18th century, the coffee house had firmly established itself as a cornerstone of European urban life, entering what many historians consider its golden age. These establishments were more than just places to consume a beverage. They were vibrant social ecosystems, reflecting and shaping the intellectual, political, and cultural currents of the time. From the grand ornate establishments of Paris and Vienna to the more modest, bustling houses of London, each coffee house developed its own unique character and clientele. In London, coffee houses became specialized hubs. These establishments attracted a diverse clientele, including composers, writers, painters, and intellectuals, all of whom found inspiration in the atmosphere of creativity that permeated the coffee houses. By the late 18th century, these establishments began to face competition from other social and cultural centers, such as private clubs and salons. Additionally, changing social customs and the increasing popularity of tea in some countries, particularly Britain, led to a decline in coffee house culture during the 19th century. Nevertheless, the legacy of the coffee house endured. The ideals and practices born in those bustling 17th and 18th century establishments continued to resonate, influencing the development of modern cafes and coffee shops. And so, the story of the coffee house from its humble beginnings in the Middle East to its central role in shaping the social, cultural, and political landscape of Europe serves as a reminder of the profound impact that this simple beverage has had on human history. The stimulating environment, coupled with the social interactions and exposure to new ideas, made coffee houses a favorite haunt for many artists. The famous German composer Johann Sebastian Bach, for instance, is said to have been a regular at the coffee houses of Leipzig, where he drew inspiration for some of his most iconic works. Similarly, the English writer and critic Samuel Johnson found the coffee houses of London to be a rich source of material for his writings, with their bustling crowds, an endless supply of human interest stories. In fact, one of the most celebrated literary landmarks of the coffee house era is Henry Fielding's London, a series of satirical poems that capture the essence of coffee house culture and its inhabitants. Through his vivid portraits of lawyers, politicians, poets, and parasites who frequented these establishments, Fielding both celebrated and lampooned the characters that made coffee houses such a fascinating microcosm of society. Lloyd's Coffee House, for instance, evolved into the world-renowned insurance market, a testament to the commercial discussions that took place within its walls. These establishments were early adopters of newspapers and pamphlets, recognizing their potential to inform and stimulate discussion. Coffeehouse patrons, often well-educated and from diverse backgrounds, eagerly consumed these publications, discussing and debating their contents. This exchange of ideas and opinions was encouraged by the proprietors, who understood that engaged customers led to greater profits. The coffeehouse thus became a hub of the nascent public sphere, a space where individuals could come together to discuss matters of public interest in an atmosphere of civility and intellectual exchange. Furthermore, coffeehouses played a pivotal role in facilitating social networking. In an era before electronic communication, these establishments provided a regular and reliable setting for people to come together and build connections. For merchants and traders, it was a place to exchange information about markets and trade routes. For intellectuals and artists, it was a venue to share ideas and find collaborators. The personal connections forged over cups of coffee often proved instrumental in advancing commercial projects, artistic endeavors, or political movements. This aspect of the coffeehouse contributed significantly to its reputation as a hub of productivity and innovation, where the simple act of drinking coffee could lead to significant professional and personal opportunities. Jonathan's and Garraway's were centers for stockbrokers and merchants. Others catered to specific professions: writers, artists, lawyers, or politicians. The quiet hum of conversation, the rustle of newspapers, and the clinking of cups created a constant, low-level buzz, a symphony of commerce and ideas. In Paris, the coffeehouse took on a more overtly intellectual and revolutionary character. Establishments like Procope, founded in Etienne by Bachelot, became gathering places for Enlightenment figures such as Voltaire, Rousseau, and Diderot. Here, ideas that would eventually challenge the old order were debated and refined. The gentle clatter of porcelain and the pervasive aroma of coffee were the backdrop to discussions that would eventually reshape the political landscape of Europe. A key aspect of the coffeehouse experience was the availability and consumption of news. The impact of coffeehouses on the arts was equally profound. However, despite their vibrancy and influence, the golden age of coffeehouses was not to last. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the rich, dark liquid that awakens our senses and fuels our days. But have you ever wondered about the journey that this beloved beverage took to reach your cup? As coffee firmly established itself in Europe, its journey was far from complete. In bustling ports like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia, establishments like the Merchant's Coffeehouse became gathering places for traders, politicians, and intellectuals. It was a practical beverage for the frontier, easily transportable and providing much-needed energy for arduous journeys and demanding labor. The quiet ritual of brewing coffee over an open fire in a wilderness camp, a simple comfort in a vast and untamed landscape, became an iconic image of American expansion. Coffee became a symbol of resilience and self-sufficiency, a constant companion for those building a new life in the wilderness. Its stimulating effects helped to ward off fatigue during long days of farming, hunting, or traveling. The gentle warmth of a cup of coffee, shared around a campfire, fostered camaraderie and provided a moment of quiet reflection amidst the challenges of the frontier. Here, business deals were struck, political strategies debated, and news from across the colonies and from Europe was exchanged. It has been a companion in times of both hardship and prosperity, a silent witness to the evolution of a nation. These American coffeehouses, while perhaps less ornate than their European counterparts, served a similar function, providing a sober environment for discussion and networking. There were places where the seeds of a new nation were sown, where ideas of liberty and self-governance were quietly nurtured over cups of invigorating brew. The gentle hum of conversation, the rustle of papers, and the clinking of cups were the sounds of a nation being forged, one thoughtful discussion at a time. However, as trade routes solidified and supplies became more reliable, coffee began to gain a foothold. This act of defiance against British taxation, which involved colonists dumping crates of tea into Boston Harbor, had a profound and lasting impact on American drinking habits. As a patriotic gesture, many colonists consciously rejected tea, a symbol of British oppression, and embraced coffee as the beverage of choice for a newly independent nation. The shift was not merely symbolic, it was practical. Coffee became a staple in American homes and taverns, a symbol of freedom and the quiet act of choosing coffee over tea, a seemingly small decision, was imbued with deep political significance. cementing coffee's place in the American identity. The gentle aroma of brewing coffee, once a luxury, became a scent of defiance and independence, a subtle fragrance of revolution. Its stimulated properties were appreciated, particularly in a society where hard work and long hours were often the norm. The quiet act of brewing coffee in a colonial kitchen, a simple comfort in a challenging new land, marked the beginning of its American story. The spirit of exploration and colonization that had brought coffee to Europe now propelled it across the vast Atlantic to the burgeoning colonies of the New World. Here, on American shores, coffee would find new homes, new forms of consumption, and play a subtle yet significant role in the shaping of a nascent nation. Early European settlers brought coffee with them, though it was initially less common than tea or alcoholic beverages. The Boston Tea Party and coffee's rise, perhaps. The most pivotal moment in coffee's ascent in America was the Boston Tea Party in 1773. American coffee houses, centers of commerce and politics. Just as in Europe, coffee houses emerged in American cities as vital centers of social and commercial life. Coffee and the American frontier. As the United States expanded westward, coffee accompanied the pioneers and settlers. From its humble beginnings in colonial kitchens to its central role in shaping a nation's identity, coffee's journey in America is a testament to its enduring appeal. The tranquil landscapes of the coffee plantations and the gentle rituals of traditional processing are about to be reshaped by the rising tide of industrialization. And to quench this insatiable thirst, the coffee belt expands. The darker side of industrialization emerges as labor, often in the form of forced or low-wage work, becomes the fuel that drives this growth. As the demand for coffee reaches fever pitch, the industry seeks ever greater efficiency. Sealed bags and tins stand proudly on shelves, promising freshness and convenience. But beyond the practicality, they signal a shift, a subtle yet profound move away from the traditional. At this point, coffee has evolved from a luxury good to a common commodity, and it's only a matter of time before it finds its place in every home. Enter mechanization, the quiet revolution that's set to transform the very essence of coffee production. They navigate the complexities of supply and demand, ensuring the beans from distant plantations find their way to eager roasters and distributors. But the story doesn't end there. On one hand, it's a story of accessibility, of bringing a beloved beverage to the masses, democratizing the enjoyment of a good cup of coffee. On the other hand, it's a tale of change, of how mass production can sometimes overshadow quality and tradition. Yet, as the 19th century draws to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Coffee has woven itself into the very fabric of modern life. Its invigorating aroma and comforting warmth have become an integral part of our daily rituals. The coffee futures market takes center stage, a dynamic arena where coffee is traded for future delivery. Suddenly, coffee beans aren't just a beloved beverage. They're a financial asset, subject to the whims of the market, influenced by factors like weather, global events, and shifting consumer tastes. This evolution is nothing short of astonishing. Coffee, once a cherished beverage associated with cozy cafes and intimate moments, now finds itself on the floor of bustling exchanges, its fate intertwined with the fortunes of traders and investors. While harvesting is a task that still largely relies on nimble hands, machines start to creep into other areas of the process: pulping, washing, and drying. Coffee cherries, once meticulously done by hand, now face the worry blades and mechanized arms of industrial innovation. Vast tracts of land are cleared, and by the end of the century, Brazil emerges as the world's undisputed coffee king. This isn't a robot uprising. Machines supplement, then gradually replace human labor, changing the rhythm of the coffee fields from a quiet, carefully orchestrated dance to a more hurried, mechanized tune. In the bustling cities, the quiet corners where coffee is roasted by hand or over open flames are disappearing. The smoky aroma still drifts invitingly from these small-scale roasters, but they're becoming a rare sight. Enter commercial coffee roasting, a game-changing innovation that promises more, bigger, and better. Roasted coffee beans become a staple in grocery stores, a testament to the power of industrialization. Plantations sprawl across the landscape, and the air is thick with the promise of profit. It is the dawn of a new era where the quiet artistry of coffee making is set to be transformed into a well-oiled machine. The 19th century ushers in an era of unprecedented growth in coffee consumption, particularly in the heartlands of industrialization, Europe and North America. Now, this expansion isn't all sunshine and rainbows, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And then there's packaging, once a simple affair, now elevated to an art form. Amidst this transformation, a new player emerges, the coffee broker, a pivotal figure who connects the vast network of coffee production and consumption. This journey through industrialization reveals a profound duality in coffee's. So here's to the quiet revolution that brought coffee to every home, and to the brave souls who dared to dream of a world fueled by caffeine. The quiet revolution, the dawn of the coffee age. If there is one thing that gets the world moving, it's coffee. In homes and workplaces around the globe, the morning ritual of brewing coffee is a timeless tradition. But have you ever stopped to think about how this beloved beverage became such a prominent part of our daily lives? Until then, stay caffeinated and keep learning. How did coffee, once a mysterious and exotic drink, become the lifeblood of our modern world? The rise of coffee culture, from daily ritual to global phenomena, the Industrial Revolution, and the rise of coffee houses. The late 18th and 19th centuries witnessed a surge in coffee consumption driven by the Industrial Revolution. As cities grew, people migrated in search of better lives, bringing with them their coffee habits and traditions. Coffee houses sprang up, initially serving as gathering places for intellectuals and revolutionaries, eventually evolving into social hubs for all segments of society. These coffee houses played a pivotal role in shaping urban life, offering not just a place to enjoy a cup of coffee, but also a sense of community and a space for exchange of ideas. The American and French revolutions were notably fueled by discussions that took place over cups of coffee in these very establishments. The quiet clinking of cups against saucers echoed with the murmur of conversations that would change the course of history. The intimate ambience of these coffee houses, filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the glow of candlelight, became the backdrop for countless encounters, friendships, and collaborations. They were the social infrastructure of their time, fostering a sense of belonging and shared purpose among those who stepped through their doors. The 20th century, coffee goes global. The early 20th century saw coffee become a global phenomenon. Iconic brands like Folgers and Maxwell House emerged, offering convenient, affordable options that made coffee a staple in more households. Instant coffee, invented in 1901, further expanded coffee's reach, allowing for quick and easy preparation anywhere. The rise of chains like Starbucks in the late 20th century elevated coffee to a status of luxury, offering a wide variety of blends and brewing methods that catered to diverse tastes. Coffee houses evolved into stylish hangouts, places to socialize, work, or simply relax. Today, coffee is enjoyed in more than 160 countries. Its adaptability to local cultures is remarkable. From Turkish coffee with its intricate serving rituals to Vietnamese egg coffee, each region adds its own unique twist, reflecting the deep cultural significance of this beloved beverage, regardless of where you are in the world. The aroma of fresh coffee carries with it a universal appeal, a promise of warmth, comfort, and a moment of pause in our fast-paced lives. Whether it's the quiet ritual of brewing a cup at home, the social experience of enjoying a latte with friends, or the nostalgic sip of a familiar brand, coffee connects us all in a shared experience that transcends borders and generations. So the next time you take a moment to savor that perfect cup of coffee, take a moment to appreciate its incredible journey, the rich history that went into every drop, and the communities, cultures, and connections that it has fostered along the way. It's a story, a tradition, and a bond that brings the world together. And that, my friends, is the story of how coffee went from a mysterious and exotic drink to becoming the lifeblood of our modern world. These Yemeni Jews were onto something. They understood that coffee, like any great story, needed to be savored, cherished, and shared. It is the quiet moment before a sunrise yoga session, the gentle background to a first date, the soothing presence during a late-night study session. It bridges the physical and digital worlds, inviting us to pause, to engage, to connect. Coffee shops are no longer just places to buy coffee. They are spaces where the aroma of roasted beans mingles with the soft glow of laptop screens. They are places where the quiet hum of conversation intertwines with the steady tap of fingers on keyboards, where the lines between work and leisure are delightfully blurred. In Ethiopia, where the legend of coffee began, the buna ceremony persists, a profound communal experience rooted in ancient tradition. For without their dedication, their passion, their artistry, the journey of the coffee bean would have remained incomplete. So here's to coffee, the beverage that defies boundaries, connects hearts, and fuels our days. In Italy, espresso is a quick, intense ritual, a brief pause at the bar before continuing with the day. In Turkey, the thick, unfiltered brew is served with ceremony, its grounds often red for fortune-telling. Each country, each city, each individual imbues coffee with a unique meaning, a personal story that adds to the rich tapestry of its global narrative. And what better way to do that than to hide it away in a secret location and only reveal it to those who truly appreciate the journey. It's an approach that mirrors the very essence of coffee itself. A journey taken one step at a time. From the hands of a farmer to the heart of a roaster, from the grind of the beans to the comfort of a steaming mug. Today, as we stand on the precipice of a new era, coffee finds itself at a pivotal moment. It is more than just a beverage. It is a global cultural identifier, a universal language spoken in countless dialects across continents. It is the secret, shared between friends and strangers, the quiet ritual that marks the start of a new day, or the gentle companion that eases the end of one. Like a seasoned traveler, coffee has journeyed far. It has braved treacherous sea routes, endured the passage of time, and defied countless attempts to contain or extinguish its spirit. From the bustling street cafes of Rome to the serene tea houses of Tokyo, from the vibrant markets of Addis Ababa to the cozy corners of a Seattle coffee shop, coffee has quietly woven itself into the fabric of daily life. Yet amidst its widespread popularity, coffee remains deeply personal. In this digital age, coffee stands as a beacon of connection. As we raise our cups to toast to coffee, let us not forget the quiet heroes of its story, the farmers, the roasters, the baristas, and most importantly, the water. If you really enjoyed the history of coffee, how this come into formation and all the different aspects of it, please consider subscribing. You can always change your mind later. It helps the channel out so much, and I love reading your comments. So please feel free to leave any feedback or thoughts you have down below. Also, if you could please like and share this video, that would be amazing. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.